Vakyatam Asutya Bhagavat Katha Shattanandam Param Lebe Mahabhagavato Dvija Sutta Uvacha Kausharavakyatam Asutya Bhagavat Katha Shattanandam Param Lebe Mahabhagavato Dvija Sutta Uvacha Kausharavakyatam Asutya Bhagavat Katha Shattanandam Param Lebe Mahabhagavato Dvija
Sutta Vacha Kausharavakyatam Asutya Bhagavat Katha Shattanandam Param Lebe Mahabhagavato Dvija
Sutta Vacha
Kausharavakyatam Asutya Bhagavat Katha Shattanandam Param Lebe Mahabhagavato Dvija.
Ladies.
Sutta Vacha Asutya Bhagavat Katha Shattanandam Param Lebe Mahabhagavato Dvija.
Sutta Goswami Uvacha said Iti thus Kausharava from Maitreya son of Kusharu Akhyatam told Ashrutya having heard Bhagavat Katham the narration about the Lord Shatta Vidura Anandam bliss Param transcendental Lebhe achieve Mahabhagavata great devotee Dvija O Brahmana Shaunaka. Translation and proper by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Sutta Goswami said, continued, my dear Brahmana, Shatta, Vidura, the great devotee of the Lord achieved transcendental bliss by hearing the narration of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the authoritative source of the sage Kausharava Maitreya, and he was very pleased. Purport. If anyone wants to derive transcendental pleasure by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, he must hear from the authoritative source, as explained here. Maitreya heard the narration from his bona fide spiritual master, and Vidura also heard from Maitreya. One becomes an authority simply by presenting whatever he has heard from his spiritual master. Anyone who does not accept a bona fide spiritual master cannot be an authority. This is clearly explained here. If one wants to have a transcendental pleasure, he must find a person with authority. It is also stated in the Bhagavatam that simply by hearing from an authoritative source, with the ear and the heart, one can relish the pastimes of the Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible. Sanatana Goswami, therefore, was especially warned that one should not hear anything from the personality of the Lord from the lips of a non-devotee. Non-devotees are considered to be like serpents. As milk is poisoned by the serpent's touch, so although the narration of the Bhagavatam of the Lord is pure as milk, when administered by serpent-like non-devotees, it becomes poisonous. Not only that, it does not have effect on transcendental pleasure, but is also dangerous. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has warned that no description of the person of the Lord should be heard from the Mayavad or impersonalist school. He has clearly said, Mayavadi bhasha sunile haya sarvanas. When anyone hears the Mayavadi's interpretation of the person of the Lord, or in their interpretation of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, or any other Vedic literatures, he is doomed. Once one is associated with impersonalist, he can never understand the personal feature of the Lord and his transcendental pastimes. Sutta Goswami was speaking to the sages headed by Shaunaka, and therefore he addressed him in these words as Dvija, twice born. The sages assembled in Naimisharanya hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Sutta Goswami were all Brahmanas, but to acquire the qualifications of a Brahmana is not everything. Merely to be twice born is not perfection. Perfection is attained when one hears the pastimes and activities of the Lord from a bona fide source. Om Gyan Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhantam Chan Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalptarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this was Canto 3, text 19, chapter 19, text 34, the killing of the demon Hiranyaksha. The Goswami continued, my dear Brahmana, Kshatta Vidura, the great devotee of the Lord achieved transcendental bliss by hearing the narration of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the authoritative source of the sage Maitreya, Kausharava, and he was very pleased. I'm remembering at our Radha Gopinath temple, the place where the Bhagavad speaker sits and gives the Bhagavad Katha, Bhagavad class. Just behind, and we have several paintings of the Lord, like we have paintings here, painting of the Lord. And just behind the speaker of Bhagavatam was Rasa Prabhu's creation of painting, where Mahaprabhu Chaitanya is instructing Rupa Goswami at Prayag. That painting now not there, is the place with some different one. And that was very significant for the audience and the speaker both, that since he is sitting with Mahaprabhu behind Rupa Goswami, he better speak what they wanted us to speak, right? When we chant our pranam mantras, Vandeham Sri Guru Shitapada Kamalam, why are we doing this? Why do we do this before any important narration? Why do we always chant this? Because this principle is sacred and keep it on our head. Every Vaishnava will keep this principle of parampara on his head because it is a worshipable principle. He remembers in the parampara, in this pranam, we remember Mahaprabhu Chaitanya, remember the Sri Goswamis, remember Advaita Acharya, remember all our parampara acharyas. Vandeham Sri Guru, Sri Gurun, Guru and Sri Gurun, plural. Yarpada Kamalam, the lotus feet. Every ISKCON devotee understands very clearly that what he is getting is pure milk, right? And therefore, the channel of that milk is like we have the milk ocean, right? And then we have the milk flowing into this world. That channel which brings the milk of the bliss of transfiguration is called as the parampara. And therefore, in our ISKCON temples, in every home, we have deities, we have worship. Nobody will ever have the picture of only his guru. Nobody. You unknowingly will not do that. All was his guru's picture. Or not initiated, not initiated, will put Prabhupada's picture. Prabhupada will put the entire parampara's picture. Right? Because the power of transformation is the power of transformation of the heart and the bliss which emanates thereof is based on Krishna's grace, which flows to parampara, and when the speaker is loyal to that, right, only then the audience will have the desired effect. This is a very important precondition. Our process is a science. Bhakti is not a faith, Prabhupada said. Apatattva is a vigyan, it's knowledge, and it is scientific knowledge. And in science, there are some prerequisites. When you make a scientific experiment, you just don't take experiment anywhere in the open air, in the field, make some experiment. You have a laboratory, you have predefined conditions. Temperature should be this much, this should be at this particular, chemical should be at this level, this should make in this proportion. You can't make most proportion, it will be different. Less proportion will be different, right? So in chemistry or in physics and biology, when experiments are made, there are some guidelines under which experiment is made. Isn't it? All of us understand that. Therefore, similarly, since bhakti is a science, and this is a proof of the scientific process we have that the scientific effect of what is the scientific effect? Effect is what? Vidura received. What is the impact of hearing from Maitreya? This is the experiment conclusion. If this criteria maintained, this will happen. What will happen? He achieved transcendental bliss. He achieved transcendental bliss. So this is the potential, not Ananda, but it was Parama Ananda. Right? So, Prabhupada, one of the initial books which Prabhupada wrote, mercifully for all of us, is Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure. Right? That is a beautiful book. I think most of us have read it in the beginning of our career. Right? That Krishna is the only source of pleasure. There are not multiple sources of pleasure. They see, hey, this also and that also. There's only one source of pleasure. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. You may call him Krishna, you may call him Rama, irrespective. There's only one source. And if we also, as per our nature also is Satchita Ananda. If you have to really get back to your nature of being Ananda, you have to connect to that source of Ananda. Right? I want Ananda, it is the source of Ananda. Between both of us, there has to be a link, there has to be a wire, there has to be a channel, there has to be some connection, either by satellite or by wire or whatever, there has to be a channel. That channel is called as the Parampara. The Parampara. So Krishna has stressed it so heavily, Imam Parampara, right? And the Prabhupada also, he did not give any importance to his own oration, vocabulary, scholarship, even though he was a scholar, Vedic scholar, Sanskrit scholar, Vaishnava scholar. He gave no credit to his own subject. I am simply trying to repeat the words of my spiritual master. So, the transparency of the speaker is the qualification of the speaker. Just like you have electric current, right? Then we have got all this electricity. Everything is flowing through wires, right? Why do we use copper? The copper is a good conductor of electricity, right? If you use silver, it's better conductor. If you use gold, best, right? That means it does not offer any resistance to the flow of electric current. There is no loss. When you say loss means it starts up at say power of 100 joules or 2000 joules of power. As it goes down the line, while it comes down, it becomes only 20 joules. Right? Power was lost on the track somewhere, right? But parampara means it starts with 100 joules, down also will be equal to 100 joules. Because there is transparency of the parampara. There are some very interesting pastimes of the Lord to prove this very powerful principle. Mahaprabhu Chaitanya is dancing in the house of Srivas Thakur, right? And it is becoming more and more famous now. There's some transcendentally powerful activity going on in the house of Srivas, right? And they would down in spreads in the township of Navadip. Here is people who are really having a great time inside, right? So the pious people were attracted. The non-pious people were very, very envious and they were shouting and saying, what is nonsense, all through the night, all this nonsense going on. They said, throw these people out of the village, right? There are a lot of envious guys who are really scandalized by the presence of Srivas Thakur in that group. Who was there inside that? Srivas Thakur, his brothers. His three brothers were there. Sripati, Srinidhi, Sri Ram, right? So four of them were there. Amritacharya was there, Mukunda was there, Thakur Haridas was there, right? Another Pandit was there. All these big personalities were there, and many more. And one day this Brahmana comes to Srivas Thakur and said, please, once we can learn from this. Because with the Mahaprabhu's dance, when you see a very trained dancer, a man or woman, trained dancer, like Bhagavatam or Odissi, wonderful. Costumes are there and the graceful dance. Right? Proper music is there, Carnatic music or something. It's a feast to the eyes and the ears. What about the Lord's dancing? The source of all dancing is the Lord. The source of everything is the Lord is of everything. Adhyam. He is Adhyam of everything. So the Lord dances. It is perfection of dance. He is the source of Odissi and Bharatanatyam and all those things. Source, very source. Right? What we are doing is just a very fragmental portion. When he dances, and that means an ecstasy. Right? Oh, what is a dance? We can only probably imagine. There's nothing more superior to that in this world. Gold, gold Nataraj. Symbol is gold Nataraj. Raja, Nata, Raj, king among dancers. The king of dancers is dancing. Please, once you let me inside. So Shadava said his qualification is, so nobody can come with a Bhagavatam. You cannot come inside. It's a very close elite group. Please. You know, I take only milk. I do fast. Shadava know this man is very genuine. They don't understand from the face. He was no. He is very, very simple boy. Very austere. No duplicity was there. He was not a hypocritical fellow. He is genuine Brahmana. Knowledge, simple life, very austere. I will love you, but you cannot be open. You have to be hiding. So then he comes inside, right? And Mahaprabhu starts his dance. They're rolling into his dancing, into his mood, right? He's getting into the spirit of dancing. And he stops. There is someone here who should not be here. So it's your time. There are no sinners here. And he was right. He was not. He was not there. Is there anyone who is not supposed to be here? So, Mahaprabhu, there is one Brahman is very nervous. One Brahman is there. He is very simple. He drinks only milk. And what is Mahaprabhu's response to that? He gets so terrible. Get that milk again, Brahman, out! When Mahaprabhu gets angry, this is the same Narasimhadev incarnating in the man at that time. Mahaprabhu was very sober. He was very sober, very gentle, very polite, extremely courteous, and supremely respectful. When he gets angry, very unusual. It means something terrible has happened. No, it is not like us. We become angry at any small reason. We get angry. Mahaprabhu's anger was very special. Everything the Lord has is special. When he gets angry, it is very special. It has to be a proper, powerful reason. So then the Brahmana, he came out himself. Said, get out! Just lowered his face and just walked out. And as he's walking out, he's thinking, at least I got to see a few moments of the Lord's dance. Even though I'm not qualified, and I understand myself, at least I got some glimpse of what is that Lord, glorious Lord's dancing. Mahaprabhu is the Lord in the heart, Antaryami. He just got angry. In a few minutes, his anger cooled down. Mahaprabhu's anger is not like ours, right? Nothing the Lord does it like ours, for that matter. It is transcendental anger. It is not like it immediately cool down. That get the Brahman again. And because he was humble and he was grateful. Two qualifications he had: his humility and his gratitude. This person reveals the important principle that Shuddha Bhakti is not reserved for those who are just simply austere and simple. Austerity is not the supreme qualification for living Shuddha Bhakti. That is not what our parampara is recommending. Unalloyed love of Krishna is not the prerogative of somebody who is leading an austere life. That is not a proper message, right? Because austerity, even at its best, will only increase somebody's piety. Austerity is meant for improving piety, but as it is not powerful enough to access that what we talk about, transcendental bliss cannot, right? Your soul, again, because of the science, the soul to access that grace. The soul is like this, like you have, the soul is accessing the grace, right? So for accessing the grace, you have a qualification. When can you catch those vibrations, that grace, the Lord's love and mercy? How do you catch that? right? To catch that, if you use the technology of austerity, it is not going to become vibrant enough to catch the Lord's grace. It cannot. It falls short. So that is one very important pastime, right? That it is not the Parampara message. Other time, the Lord is the pastime of the Lord with other Acharya, right? Mentioned over here. He wants to have the Lord's, the pastime is very elaborate, right? He wanted to details of all that. But we know that Acharya was feeling very, very remorse, very sad that Mahaprabhu was worshipping him. He's offering arti to him when he sees him, right? And he's so respectful towards him. He said, he is my Lord, but he's worshipping me. How do you feel if the Guru Switch Master starts worshipping you? So I was supposed to worship you. You are worshipping me. You are my Lord and Master, right? But the Lord was about to make him sit down. And there is so much elder, right? His age also is elder. He's a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Madan Puri is a disciple of Ishwara Puri, right? So he's like a Guru uncle, Guru, right? Like we have other acharyas in our ISKCON. When they are here, how would we feel if he comes, that acharya comes here and starts worshipping us? Maharaj, what are you doing? I am supposed to worship you. You are worshipping me. It's completely uncomfortable, acharya was that. So that in order to get the Lord's grace, as we know, he spoke the Mana philosophy of Yoga Vasishtha, right? When he spoke that message, so here the Lord became very angry. He said, Sri Govinda, I don't see this other teacher these days. I don't see him these days. So he's preaching in Shantipur. A lot of people are coming to hear him. So, really is preaching. So let's go and see, let's go and meet him. So from Namadev, they went to Shantipur, right? And then from the corner of his eye, he's watching. He's coming. So the is now in full form now. He starts speaking all Mayavad perfect. Some action ke saath, here, Mayavad ultimately, the Lord is impersonal. Jnana is higher than Bhakti. He goes on like that, full fledged, he goes like that. He's coming closer to the hearing. What? This is what if I Yoga Vasishtha, right? And as he speaks the philosophy more powerfully, the Lord gets so angry again. Same anger. Lord getting angry is very unusual. And he gets angry so much that he jumps on the stage, pulls the chariot down, and starts beating him, punching him, pounding him. Sits on his chest. And Sita Thakurani is saying, Arey Papa, he will die like this. He's an old man. And Mahaprabhu's punches are not like, nice. Mahaprabhu's punches, dope. And Mahaprabhu is not pretending to be angry. He's actually angry. So now, then, when did it break? His anger breaks with something. The says, now, where is the worship? Where are those incense sticks? Where are those nice, powerful, nice slokas you are chanting for my pleasure? Where are all that? Now you are beating me, now you accept me as your servant, right? Because nobody will beat, nobody chastises unless you are inferior to you, right? You are beating me because you accept me as your inferior, as your subordinate. And that time Mahaprabhu realized, oh my God, I've been cheated. I've been royally cheated. The point is here, it is not important who is speaking what. We were to understand that here, who is speaking? Sripad Adacharya is speaking. Somebody, Acharya, his name is Advait Acharya. He says Acharya himself, right? So exalted. Among all the Brahmanas of Shantipur, he was the most respectable person. He was known as the Sarvabhauma. He was the highest of all the Brahmanas. So, in our Sampradaya, whoever the speaker may be, not important. This pastime is showing us. Advait is speaking. Mahaprabhu disapproved what he spoke. Who is speaking is not important. What he is speaking is important. The message is more important than the speaker. Very important. Sometimes we get bewildered. Are he speaking like this? Are he speaking like that? If he speaks of this like this, must be right. So even in our society, we do tend to get a little bit of confusion based on the speaker's profile. The speaker's profile is very high profile person. Are Baba, he's speaking. Barabar hona chahiye, right? So we don't go by the profile of the speaker. Very easy. Anybody speaks, anybody, even to the level of being Atak Acharya. Mahaprabhu rejected him out. Why? Because he's speaking what? Mayavad bol raha hai. He's saying that Mayavad, Prabhupada is saying this purport. Speaking Mayavad, even to Atak Acharya. Whatever you are, out. That is the problem. So we worship the message and we worship those personalities who are loyal to the message. Right? Those who are loyal to the message, we worship them with our heart and soul. We surrender our lives to them. But if they are not speaking out to the message, we just respect them from a distance. Right? Therefore, it is important that when we read Srila Prabhupada's books carefully, scrutinizingly, right, we will not get confused because in our society also so many speakers are there, right? And sometimes when we are traveling around, people say, Prabhuji, that's questioning. She's speaking like this, she's speaking like that, they are speaking like this. So, a variety of things are there in our society. We wonder, what should we do? And we say simply, you read Prabhupada's books and you hear from a spiritual master, right? And Guru, Sadhu, hear Prabhupada, read Prabhupada's books and hear from a spiritual master. If all this in alignment is there, you can hear anybody, not a problem, right? So, our reference point, like we said, is a science. The reference point is Prabhupada's books, correct? That is the reference point. Those who are speaking into the reference point of Prabhupada, then we all are one, then everyone is, then we want to get inspired by those speakers and, achieve Krishna consciousness, right? So, the qualification Prabhupada says, beyond that, Prabhupada says, how do you hear? He said we should hear using our ears and he says our heart. That is very, very wonderful. I find that one very interesting. So when you hear, so you heard the class, I heard the class. How was the class? Okay. I said it's a very good class. I said it's not a good class. You may say whatever we want, depending on how we felt about the class, right? But Prabhupada is saying, don't hear the class only with your ears. Hear with your ears and heart, right? Because I think one of our Iswanacharya's wrote a book, Bhakti is a business of the heart, right? Bhakti is not done with the, you can use the senses, but ultimately it's the activity of the heart, right? So, in any activity we perform, there are three levels. We can use the senses, the body senses. Number one, we can use, number two, use the brain. Number three, use the body, the brain, and the heart. I'll give you an example to substantiate what I'm saying. Simple thing. We all came here, we took a bath in the morning, brushed our teeth, etc., right? What was that? We use only our body. You didn't need a brain that time. Toothpaste, toothbrush. What is the connection? You use your brain. You take a toothpaste, apply water, soap. Isn't the connection? You don't use the brain that time, right? You just start pouring water, apply soap, Haribol, Hare Krishna, you get out, right? You wipe your body and get out, right? So that is only activity with the body. It is totally mechanistic. It's a non-brainer. All of you are working in IT, right? By default, everyone in Detroit works in IT. If you're from Andhra and you're in Detroit, you are working in IT. It's very simple. You don't have to ask, what do you work? Doctors, lawyers here, all are IT. So when you are in the job, whatever job you are doing, you have to use there are some difficult questions there, difficult problems to be solved. So problem solving, whether as a doctor, I may have to, I cannot be mechanical. Every patient is different. He says this, he says that. So I have to use my brain. So, okay, what diagnostic tool I will use? This report, that report, this CT scan, this blood report, etc., etc. I'll examine like this, and then using a brain. So second level higher than that is called as brain. It means first level is called as simply skill. Beyond the skill comes knowledge. So the second level is a higher level activity, skill as well as knowledge, right? And the third level activity is where you involve your heart, right? So you have skill, you have knowledge, and you have the proper attitude. So always say activities are based on three things: knowledge, skill, and attitudes. We say three activities as three levels: knowledge, skill, and attitudes. For mechanistic things, we use the skill. For our livelihood purpose, other things, we use our knowledge. But we do not use our heart, or we should not use our heart for anything which doesn't involve bhakti. The things of this world should be done only at the level of body and brain. But heart should be given to Allah to be Janullah. Heart should be given to our spiritual master, right? When we want to do activities, when it comes to the heart is reserved only for the Lord in the heart. Who's in the heart? The Buddha said we have a throne in the heart. We have a throne in the heart. It's like you have the Lordship is sitting on a throne. Prabhupada is sitting on a throne. You got asan, whatever you call it. It's a throne. Prabhupada had is huge, very beautiful, ornate, asanas. They're like kingly, very kingly, right? So spiritual master and the Lord in the heart sit on a throne. That is called the altar of the heart. Prabhupada also says, Hridaya Simhasana. That's called Hridaya Simhasana. When he especially talks about the Gundicha Madhana pastime in the Madhya Leela, right? The body is called as Hridaya Simhasana, right? So, for the activity of bhakti to bear the fruit of purification, it has to percolate down to the heart. When any activity of bhakti, however pure it is, dressing the deity, chanting Hare Krishna mantra, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, gardening tulsi, or changing to Prabhupada's dress, or whatever we are doing, if it is done only with the body and the brain, it brings small purification. But when we involve the heart, it purifies rapidly. And only when it involves the heart can it bring what is called here Parama Ananda. Anand cannot be felt by the brain. Anand cannot be felt by the brain. The brain is a mechanical structure. There is no Ananda there. It is all molecules and atoms and neurons and protons. There is no Ananda in that mechanistic structure. Right? So, at the most, it is called as Manoranjan. What is it called as? You feel somebody is speaking nicely and with a lot of music is going on and all. Kirtan is going on. Best Kirtan is singing. It was only Manoranjan, but when the music is perfect, singing is perfect, and you're speaking from the heart, you're singing that chorus from the heart, right? And what is the meaning of when singing from the heart, right? If that is not there, it becomes Manoranjan, right? You're really singing, but it's level relation at the level of the brain, right? When you sing the Mahamantra in the Kirtan Mela, or hear the Srimad Bhagavatam class, worship the deity, any activity of bhakti, with the heart, right? What does that mean to put the heart? What is the meaning of heart? Prabhupada is saying ear and heart means when you take shelter of the activity. Heart means when you take shelter of the activity is called as heart. Right? When the Harinam Sangeetam is going on and we take shelter of the holy name, oh my dear Lord, you are the only shelter in this world. This world is full of everyone thinking I can shelter in this world, our fallible soldiers. Right? And let us remember what Mahaprabhu was singing. Krishna, 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 Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Pahima. Let us see, let us examine what the Lord is singing. Protect me, Rakshama. Pahima means maintain me. What is the meaning of these two words? The Lord is singing in the mood of a sadhaka. Rakshama. That means we all need constant protection. That means we need shelter. Right? The world is full of distractions. Mahaprabhu is singing like this in the 15th century. Right? There was no billboards, there was no Twitter, there was nothing, no technology of the time. When all is not there, the Lord is still very conscious. The world is full of distractions. Right? Therefore, the Lord is saying, my dear Lord Sri Krishna, please always protect me. Right? So, protection can only come to that person who has a certain level of fear in his mind and heart. So, unless a sadhaka perceives some fear in the environment of this material world, he cannot take shelter. So, yes, we said we should chant with the heart. For heart, we need, that means we should take shelter. And for shelter, we have to, the prerequisite for the taking shelter is that there has to be an element of healthy fear, not paranoid fear. Not like corona type of fear. If I touch this, corona. This also has got corona. Everything has corona. I should wipe everything. People are washing notes. People are washing the biscuits. People are washing, hands million times in a day. People are washing everything. You cannot touch the knob. No. Nobody touches the doorknob. You're just kicking the door and opening it up. Why is he kicking the door? If I touch this doorknob, millions of coronavirus sitting there. That is not fear, that is paranoia. Right? We all have seen that, they're not, with a very recent memory, it is all there. Maybe somebody is still there to some extent. Don't go to the house. Don't go to the house. You go out, the virus will catch you. Right? So something unknown. No? Like people say, who has seen God? So we can say, who has seen corona also? So immediately, we say, Atish will say, where is Bhagavan? Show me. Where is the coronavirus? Show me. But it is there. You get sneezing, you get coughing, you get lung infection, you get cytokine storm, you put the ventilator. Where is the virus? It is there. I don't see the virus, but it is there. Right? That is what is paranoia. But when we're talking about healthy fear, right? And only that much fear which is necessary to take proper shelter. Right? So long as there is fear is there, Devaki represents bhakti. And Kamsa represents fear. And Kamsa is smashing the 6 children of Devaki. She can imagine how fearful that mother is. Oh my God. Right? So the more that fear of Kamsa's attack, his atrocities, she's seeing her sons being smashed on the rock with her eyes. No woman in the world can even imagine what is this atrocity like. And she takes complete shelter of the Lord. That Akashvani was told, 8 child will come. Right? She takes shelter of that prophecy. Right? So when we take shelter of the Lord's words, Naiti, Mameti, Suarjuna. When we take shelter of the Lord's promises, which are given in the Gita and other places, then we are performing that activity from our heart. So that type of bhakti is seeking, we take shelter of the Lord's Sri Vigraha. We don't just stand in front of them with folded hands and say, Hare Krishna, my dear Lord. We offer prayers seeking shelter. And Dhruva Maharaj saw Krishna Garva, we offered prayers of taking shelter. Right? And Prahlad Maharaj saw Krishna, we offered prayers seeking shelter of the Lord. Right? The Dainya Bhava, Dainya Vodika, right? Dainya Bhava, right? Dainya Bhava is required for taking shelter. When you come to Srila Prabhupada, in front of Srila Prabhupada, when you sing Guru Puja every day, it is not just a beautiful, nice song, right? As I said again, I'll repeat, we can do the same activity of Guru Puja using our brain and our body. We memorize the song, we use our brain, all the 4 verses we know. And we have the flowers in your hand, you go like this, you put it And Lord and Prabhupada's lotus feet, right? That is an activity with the body and the brain. But we sing Guru Puja, Ha Ha Prabhu Korodaya, Teham Mohe Padachaya. What is the mood of in which Loknath Goswami is, Nautama Thakur is singing this song? That mood is what is, he's saying center of Loknath Goswami, his spiritual master. Ha Ha Prabhu Korodaya, Teham Mohe Padachaya. This is not, obviously, there is nothing here mechanistic here. He is actually crying practically. That my Guru Maharaj is the only source of my shelter. He's crying, right? Such a Dainya Bhava. That is doing activity with the heart. So we need to understand this principle that every activity in Krishna consciousness needs involvement of the heart, actually to bring about the required change of consciousness. Consciousness is in the heart. The brain simply manifests the consciousness. Consciousness is not arising from the brain. Right? Consciousness is not arising from the brain. It arises from the heart. Right? That's why the heart is the source of life. When your heart stops, vision is dead. Right? Because the source of life is in the heart. Right? So only when the heart gets involved, whether it is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Why do we chant Sishastakam prayers? Look at the system, how beautiful our ISKCON is designed. Why do we chant Sishastakam prayers before the chanting of Mahamantra? Every in the morning we sit for japa 2 hours, right? We chant Sishastakam prayers. Then we chant the 10 offenses to holy name. And then we start chanting. Why? But that puts us the proper attitude. The proper mood is set. And when you are conscious of these things, yeah, this is offensive to holy name. I'm saying like here. We may try to avoid these offenses. And the last offense is we need to do the holy name. Right? Not getting so many instructions for this matter. Right? So every activity like this, when it is done with the involvement of our consciousness, we are here, movement as well as Krishna consciousness. I mean, consciousness is the seat of consciousness is the heart. The seat of consciousness is our heart. Right? When we involve the heart in the process, then actually we are performing the activity in Krishna consciousness. Even if we're taking care of our babies in the home, we're conscious of Krishna's children. It may not be deity worship of this type. Prabhupada said, our children are also like deities. Even if we do some mundane activity like gopis are churning butter, this is their profession. They're churning butter. Somebody is doing IT work, somebody is doing some other work. It is the profession of gopis is to churn butter because they are gwalas and gwalings, they're doing that as a profession. But by doing that, their heart is involved in singing about Krishna. Right? So when we're taking care of our babies and our home and I'm cleaning my house, but this is the Lord's house. You see, Gaurnita is staying in my house. Jagannath Swami is staying in my house. If I keep it clean, so that when the Lord resides here, that is like a simhasana. The Lord should see, oh, every room is clean. Everything is done. It is, cleaning the house, mundane activity here. But because running that consciousness is the Lord's house, it becomes bhakti. I'm taking care of my children, right? In this way, Prabhupada said they're like deities, right? So I take care of my children not because they're just my children. That is nice. It is wonderful. They are my biological father and mother. I must take care. It's my natural duty. But because they're Krishna's children, Krishna has put them under my care. So I must make them ready so that I can make an offering of my children to the Lord. Krishna, my dear children, my dear Lord, Krishna Arpanamastu. Right? So in this way, when you do everything, so bhakti is not just done in the temple. Bhakti is not just done in the temple of the Lord. Every activity is supposed to turn into whatever you do. Yak karoshi. The word is very important. Yak karoshi. Whatever you do. Whatever you do means activity done in the temple, done in the home, done in the job, done here, done there, whatever. Whatever you do. Tat Purushva. And when does it become like that? When we do it with awareness that this is for Krishna's pleasure. Right? When the Lord sees that we are happy to hear His holy name, right? He blesses us. The Lord is happy that we are eager to chant His holy name. So when you say the heart, another quality of the heart is one is taking shelter, other is eagerness. Eagerness. Parikshit Maharaj was not at all taking shelter of Sukadeva Goswami because he was fearful of death. No. He was not taking shelter of the Srimad Bhagavatam narration because he was fearful of death. No. If I hear this Bhagavatam, somehow maybe I will, somehow something will happen and I will be spared from this, this Daksha, all is coming and fighting me. He was not bothered about their business. He was prepared for this. Whatever that snake bird is supposed to come, let it do whatever it wants to do. Right? So, Parikshit Maharaj's primary qualification is that he is hearing with eagerness. Then another qualification, how to involve our heart. Right? Today morning, oh, very good. Chanting 16 rounds. No, we take out the bead bag. Very happily you take the bead bag in your hand and you chant with eagerness. My chance again to connect my heart with my Lord. This is so wonderful. My Guru Maharaj and Parampara has blessed me with this holy name. I'm going to chant these rounds and pray to the Lord and receive his blessings and shelter. My dear Lord, at the time of death, please come into my heart and mind. There are some peace with it. Right? You get sure of the holy name. Right? So the eagerness is there to hear. Eagerness to serve is there. Any service is given when eagerness is there, when his heart is involved. Eagerness is not an activity of the brain. It is activity of the heart. Some seva is given to you. Roji, yes. Thank you so much. And as we said yesterday, whether it is a shoe stand seva, or deity worship seva, preaching seva, food distribution seva, roadside Harinam Sankirtan seva, any seva. Prabhupada is very clear. No seva in Krishna consciousness is high or low. Nothing is high, nothing is low. There's only our concept which says high, low, high. Because we sing a Krishna consciousness in a very mundane way. Right? We see duality, up and down, superior and inferior. But Krishna consciousness is transcendental. In Nana, there is no higher and low. It's only perfect, more perfect, most perfect. There's no only level is there. There is no high and low there. Right? So when we add eagerness to our activities, that will become the activity of the heart. Right? So how Parikshit is hearing? The eagerness is so strong that he forgets to eat and sleep and drink water. So much eagerness is there. So therefore here, Vidura is so happy, so very happy hearing from Maitreya. And we get Paramananda. Right? Similarly, when we take shelter of the narration, take shelter of the spiritual mark, we take basically shelter of the process. We are here to take shelter of the process of bhakti. Whatever is within the process of the bhakti, we take shelter of. Especially Panchanga Bhakti. These are 5 modalities, Panchanga Bhakti. Right? We take shelter of this Panchanga Bhakti. And we do every activity in the Panchanga Bhakti with great eagerness. We get eagerness, right? And when the activity is not with eagerness, the Lord in the heart perceives that eagerness. Eagerness is activity in the heart and the Lord is in the heart. Right? We say, oh, he is doing activity with great eagerness. I will bless him. He likes to hear. He likes to serve. He likes to chant. He likes to worship my deity form. He likes to worship the spiritual master. He likes to do this with eagerness. The Lord perceives this Swabha, this nature of our inner heart. We attract the Lord's grace. Right? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments?
Thank you for a very good time.
Mic is coming. Mic is coming, so everybody can.
Hare Krishna Babuji, thank you for a very beautiful class. And I was trying to make notes of what points that I liked, which I liked. But and I wanted to have two questions on them. So I'll ask only one, give chance for the second comes back.
Yeah.
When you talked about austerity only increases piety. So when we are doing Ekadashis and we have this competition, oh, I did with water, without water, with milk and all this going. So is this piety going to help us for bhakti?
Yeah. So we can do Ekadashi as a past activity, we can do Ekadashi as bhakti activity, both. When the karma kandi is performed Ekadashi, isn't it? All our pious parents who are there, they also perform Ekadashi. Many Hindus perform Ekadashi. So Ekadashi by itself is another bhakti nor piety. What is the intention? For most people who are not, for most people it becomes an act of only austerity for piety, they get piety. But when for us, we have been told on that day when we chant more, when we actually reduce the physical indulgence in food, right? We hear more, we enhance spiritual activities on them. We take more shelter of the excess of time available now because we have minimized our physical activity and become act of bhakti. Then becomes what is called as Madhava Tithi. What Janani? Bhakti Janani. Jatana Palana Kori, right? Yes, Ekadashi is an act of bhakti when it is done with this, what I just mentioned, right? Otherwise, it is just increasing piety. Okay? So, same activity, depending on what is the attitude of the doer.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, bro. Really, how do we develop that fear, healthy fear? That is one personally, and other is like how do we like when we talk to some new people or someone, encourage them to come to Krishna consciousness. So unless until there is some kind of fear, they like to come. Like how do we develop any tips on that? But one is for personally when we talk to somebody, new people.
You will be able to attract not by fear but by enjoyment. Because chanting now is facing enjoyment, right? So they are in the material world because they're enjoying. When you come here, there is feasting, there is festivals. So attract new people by not by fear, by enjoyment of a higher enjoyment available here. Baba, what you are doing is enjoying. We will give you, we promise you here. So Prabhupada Govinda is called as higher taste.
Right now,
you have some taste. If you come here, higher taste. Acha, they will come and say, oh, wow, nice prasadam, nice deities, nice people, right? So new people preaching means not fear. It is more to allure them with a higher sense of enjoyment, right? But for sadhakas like ourselves, we need to cultivate a balance. And if we just keep an enjoying spirit on, even after we become 2, 3, 4 year devotees, I'm here because I'm enjoying. We won't go too far. Because tomorrow you may not enjoy the bhakti process. Some devotee said something. There is some conflict with somebody else, with the management or something. You will say, right? So sustain bhakti ke liye, we will do it whether we enjoy, we don't enjoy. Because bhakti sometimes in a neophyte goes like tarangas, right? When you're in high, you feel, oh, I must take complete surrender, complete shelter, sab chhod dene ka, right? So I feel, no. I don't want to surrender too much. Is getting too much, right? So we go like this, up and down, right? So the steadying factor is this one. When we have fear, healthy fear, and if I do not take shelter of the holy name, it's like immune system. The moment I don't do exercise, I don't sleep properly, or don't take proper sunlight or vitamins, or whatever, I don't take proper food, then my body becomes weak. What becomes weak is what? I will be victim of something from the environment. Could be corona, could be this, could be that. So to keep my body fit, I must perform these activities. So the fear of disease doing, I must do exercise. I must sleep at least 6-7 hours. Right? Correct? So that is fear, no? So for us it is like that. The moment I lower my guards, Maya is simply waiting to, she can come and attack from outside. Virus comes from outside. This Maya is so subtle, she can come from inside also. You see how it's crazy, when we think about it. Because it's so subtle. She can come from inside, she can come. What is happening inside? It comes from inside. Right? So, and is very, very, very vigilant. Keep our immune system strong. Immunity strong. Be better. Just stop praying for few minutes. And see how. Even after we chant, we find it so difficult, is it not? You chant around, you're reading Bhagavatam, doing some seva, doing that, and still, my God, mind is troubling. We talked yesterday about so many things, all the anarthas and all that, right? Still you find it so difficult. If you don't do these things, so the healthy fear is definitely very, very important, right? Fear of forgetting Krishna, fear of losing Krishna Guru's grace, to some extent even fear of death. That can come any time. I may not have much time. We should also be reminded about the uncertainty of death factor. In Corona times, it was very clear. Young people have also died, old people also have died. Young people also died, yeah, I am going to live. People have 18, 20 also have died. Right? So, Corona proved very clearly all the naked truth of material existence was proved by Corona. So yes, you may think I'm young, I'm only 25 years old now. I have at least 50 years to live in this world. Not very sure, sir. No guarantee. The horoscope will not really work. Akal mrityu is very common, right? You walking the road, tap, accident takes place, Haribo. Horoscope, he's going to live for 70 years. Somebody was drunk and driving, he just right? So we don't know when that will come. It is a fact. Very fact. So whatever time I may have, therefore, Chaitanya Prabhu says, live every day as if it is your last day. Bhakti is in the present tense, he says. We don't know what he did in the past. I did so many things in the past. Now I don't want to worry. You're going to sit on your laurels of the past. Right? I will do so many things in the future. What you're doing now, sir, that is what important. Krishna is saying what you're doing now. So if you die in a time when you're taking shelter of the Lord, and if you're not a pure devotee, still you go back to God. That's what he says. If right now, right, somebody is taking shelter of, suppose sitting in a Kirtan Mela, right, and he's taking shelter of the environment of the holy name and prayerfully chanting, oh my dear Lord, please save me, Rakshamam, Pahima. He gets a heart attack and he dies. But he has not done anything with this still. A lot of things are remaining. At that point, he is taking shelter of the holy name, no? He's eligible. He's eligible. The Lord is so kind. That is Mahaprabhu's speciality in Kali Yuga. Okay? So, the fear of death is a healthy fear. We should remind ourselves. One day I will be on the funeral pyre. Before I go there, a lot of things to be done.
Thank you. Just a call. Like in interacting new people, like we wanted to give them highlights, but right now they're really fighting with Netflix, YouTube, and so many other entertainment in houses. So very challenging.
Yeah. Of course, they're also suffering. They're also suffering. People are actually looking for, see, these are all, as we say, they're all trying to find some substitutes of real pleasure. Netflix, all these things which are there, right? They're looking for some substitutes, right? Once we at least tell them, as I said in the beginning, the reservoir of pleasure is Krishna. He said, you are looking for all these substitutes for the Lord's pleasure, right? Here we have the original thing. Here the original source of pleasure is here with us, right? Everything else is a perverted reflection of this world. But here we have the source of pleasure, right? And then if we call pleasure, how much pleasure is there? You know, what about drinking, smoking, is that? Everything is just goes into this fleeting pleasure, right? Here we are promising Nityananda. Nityananda. Our process is Ananda, we should not forget. Our process is Ananda, Kevala Ananda. Right? So Ananda is a very powerful way of, if we can present people the Ananda type of presentation of Krishna consciousness. This is this eternal joy. And they have Rath Yatra, it's called FOJ, Festival of Joy. People are like, oh, Festival of Joy, I want to go. Right? Festival of Fear, Festival of Fear. Festival of Joy, Festival of Joy. Americans like that, they like the strong enjoying spirit is here in this country. Yeah. So Prabhupada ki.
One question.
Oh, no question. Okay, bye. So sorry.
Anantavilas Prabhu, please ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. I had a question, but I think it was a very, very wonderful class. Lot of hope, immense hope, and your example on this last example that you gave on that Sankirtan, like someone leaving his body, like, okay, irrespective of whatever his condition is. That answered my question. I had a question about enthusiasm. Like sometimes, like, okay, even though, like, okay, we understand the principles, but sometimes, like, okay, let's take for example like chanting. Like we are doing the chanting, but then I had we know that, okay, sleep is very important, but sometimes we are sleep deprived, and like we are unable to chant. Like, okay, and uh, and if we have a good if we start our day with a good chanting, then in that case, like, we can see that the turnout of the entire day is different. But somehow, like, okay, even though after understanding the principles, we are struggling like very hard. So what can we remember? Like, okay, and you gave this example, and that gave me a lot of hope, actually, Prabhuji. So if you want to share something in this same regard, Prabhuji, okay, because even though, like, okay, even after understanding like how urgent it is, and you gave this example of like, okay, live by the day, like, okay, and um, through that, like, okay, if there are any other principles if you want to share, Prabhuji, please, like, okay, how we can be very much energized, enthusiased, like, okay, for every moment that we live.
That would be ideal. If we can be enthused at all moments, it would be ideal. Nonetheless, when you say conditioned soul, they were talking about conditioned soul to some of our devotees of the program. Conditioned soul means what? Conditioned by whom? Conditioned by what? Right? Conditioned severely by the three modes. That means our activities, our thoughts, our words, and our deeds are governed, controlled by what is being propagated and stimulated by the three modes. Right? They empower some activity and thought and words within us. So that is called as conditioned soul. So because we are in a conditioned state, to remain always enthusiastic, maybe sometimes a challenge, because sometimes the mode of goodness is acting on us very enthusiastic, right? But if somehow we get become to Tamagun and all, another Bhagavatam class. I attended so many classes, you know. What's happening? So sometimes Tamagun can also take over us, right? So the safest thing for enthusiasm is don't go by, if you depend on your own mind to give you the stimulus, you will fail. The mind is known to react in alternative ways. It's not to react like that. Mind is never in a constant state. And always going, Chanchalam Mana Krishna. So Chanchalam means sometimes up, sometimes down. If you want enthusiasm, then you have to associate. We have to associate with those who have that enthusiasm. When we associate with people who are enthusiastic, then we are not depending only on our self-generated enthusiasm. You are also going to get infected by enthusiasm of your peers, right? So if you are generating enthusiasm, great. If you are in outside people who are enthusiastic, then it is all the more better, because if you are low, then the Sangha will lift you up. Correct? So as you said, the right word is called struggle. The word struggle is very important, right? That is what Krishna wants to see. He may not want to see how much we are purified, but he doesn't want to see how much we are struggling. Right? So I give this example many times. I was talking with Radhanath Swami. We just walked out of our temple, Radha temple in Chapati, and we turned took a right turn, took a left turn, and we were just 2 minutes from the temple, and we were going to the station, Grand Road station, right? And I was inviting Maharaj to take him somewhere. So Maharaj put his hand over my shoulder, and said, "So Dwarkadish, how are you doing?" So Maharaj, I'm struggling. He looked at me and said, "Thank you very much." I didn't say anything more. It was sufficient for me. And I looked back and understood that a spiritual master is simply happy to see his disciples struggling for Krishna. Right? We're struggling for material life also in any case. Now we're struggling, doing job, raising a family. It's a massive struggle only. It's not something which does, spontaneous happiness. Struggle to do a job, maintain a job, please our bosses in the job is difficult, very difficult, right? To work in a team in our job, very difficult. Everyone's having their own brains. All sorts of cookies are there. In the team, right? It is also a struggle, correct? Raising children, they are young age, they have some difficulties, and you have grown up, and also they have another type of difficulties. And now they get married, other type of difficulties. After they get married, some other difficulties will be there. So everything is a struggle. So when we struggle for material existence, why not struggle for the real thing also, along with that, right? So when Krishna sees that we are struggling to keep our spirit on, to keep our enthusiasm on, to keep that goal clear in our heart, right? The desire active, that flame active, that I want Shuddha Bhakti. I want love of God. I want to take surrender to the Lord, right? I want this. I want to taste the bliss of chanting Shuddha Nam. When you keep this flame of desire, pure desire, everything is except for one side, everything is not desire. When you keep this flame active in our consciousness, right? Krishna is pleased. So let us keep the desire active. And with the struggle, we are going to put the struggle. We are going to put the struggle. We are here for struggle, right? We are strugglers, but we are happy strugglers, right? Those who are struggling for material existence outside, that they are completely depressed strugglers. Strugglers struggling for what? Everything in the end will become zero at the end of life. When we die, it will not be nothing. Our account will not have zero in our account when we die. We'll have a way back account when we die, right? Because they struggle for Krishna. Struggle for Krishna. Right? So we are happy strugglers and they are frustrated strugglers. Everyone is struggling. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Great Dwarkadhish Prabhuji ki
Jai.
Jai. Thank you so very much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.